That's better. Hey, how you doing? It was not novel. How are you doing today? Hope you're doing well. Hope that this week at class is good. What are you learning this week? Anyways, today we are talking about art blocks. It's one of my favorite subjects. It's not going to be dark at all. On the contrary, it's going to be pretty cool. And probably pretty entertaining too. Art block. What are they? Sometimes we call them art blocks. Sometimes we call them blank page syndrome. Overall, it's basically when you feel you have no idea, nothing creative, no good idea can come out of you for the day. For a given amount of time, you feel like you have no idea, that you have lost your creative vibe. Stuff like that. It's pretty common, for sure. Everyone pretty much have experienced that, probably multiple times. And we'll still experience that in the future, by the way. Some people experience that more than others, which can happen. And even big pros are still experiencing that from time to time. They're just hiding it because they have to work, they have some work to do for clients, so they need to go through that anyways and still produce. But even the biggest pros, they have some moments where they are basically uninspired, and this is fine. The problem, like a lot of other stuff that we are discussing here, is that it can be a big vicious circle. Because a lot of time when we are not feeling creative, we are not in the mood, or everything we do is not good enough, or whatever, we get very frustrated pretty easily. We tend to kind of give up on what we are doing. It's kind of hard to get back to work then and to get motivated again and stuff like that. And we tend to lose the mojo and to lose the motivation. And yeah, it's kind of tough sometimes. And generally, when we are facing those kind of moments, it's pretty hard to get back to work because we are basically losing the momentum that we had. And exactly the same way that it takes a lot of gas or energy to start a car, get the first meters of the car rolling, or the initial impulsion when you are riding a bike. It's a bit the same when we are starting to draw. It's a bit hard to get started, but once we are in the mood, in the flow, it's just maintenance and it's not that much effort anymore. But the initial impulse, the initial momentum, it's the hardest thing to achieve. And generally, it can be intimidating, so we tend to procrastinate on that. You see how it kind of runs up towards what we discussed yesterday. As always, I've been doing a bit of research on some incredible tips about how to overcome art block. And no joke. Let me share the screen. This is the first result. I just typed creative block help. This is on creativeblock.com, advanced graphic design. 20 ways to overcome creative block. Be ready, it's going to be tasty. It's going to be kind of cringy, to be honest. 20 ways to overcome creative block. It's great working in a creative industry, but can be tricky to stay enthusiastic and inspired all the time. First of all, inspired, fuck that word. Inspiration is shit. It comes to you, it's like this divine energy coming to you Like that. Oh, thank you, Art God. I'm inspired today. Thank you for blessing me with inspiration today. Tomorrow I won't have it because I'm not worthy. No. Your dreams are too scary? You can't do that? Same. So, inspiration, first of all, that's a red flag in the, the presentation. But yeah, tap into your subconscious. What does that mean? Is that do ayahuasca, do meditation, ask your inner child, ask your totem animal what it wants? Strange things happen in a semi-sleep state when your unconscious takes over. Write up and write down whatever was happening before you forget it. Okay. Last night, I was dreaming I got robbed in my apartment. And another day, I was dreaming I had a jetpack. Not really sure it's tied to my house, but whatever. Get it down on paper. Write human IDs down in column and list absolutely everything that comes to mind. Right now, I'm thinking about food, potato, sea of thieves, visitors, D&D, money, crypto, owls, drinking cider, dogs, cat, soundboard, keyboard, mouse, glasses, smartphone, candies for throat. Well, whatever. Dogs! Always carry a sketchbook. Yeah. This one, why not? Just to sketch everything. It's an always carry a notebook, basically. This one is kind of okay. Good job, soldier. Don't be afraid to step away. What does that mean? Try to distance yourself from the project, take a break and come back to it with a clear head. But how do you get a clear head? Stupid. Put something in your studio. Yay! Let's have a ball pit. Let's have some party. Let's have some cats in the studio. What does that mean? Sterility leads to an empty void of nothingness. Yeah, but having something very busy can be bad too. Some people are more minimalistic than others. Finish what you have started. This one is shit. Hear me out. At some point, we're gonna talk about something called the sunk cost fallacy. You know what? We're gonna talk about that tomorrow. But the TLDR about sunk cost fallacy, it's a term used in business. It's when basically there's an idea that people are working on a lot, like a project, something like that. It's shit. It's garbage. It's very bad. And yet people are sticking to it because, yes, you understand, we put so much time and effort into it. It would be a waste if we didn't finish that. Yeah. But if you work like mad on shit, and you know it will bring shitty results, you are actually saving time and money by not finishing it and accepting to letting that go. So finish things that you have started, not sure. Sometimes you must acknowledge that what you have done, it has problems. And maybe starting over might be good. In an ideal world, yes, for sure. But the problem is that that's what one of my teacher was telling me. It was like, if in 10 hours your picture is still not working, basically there was something fundamental that was bad. And this is back to Pareto's law. 80% of the result is done in 20% of the work. So if in 10 hours your picture is still looking like shit, it should have been at least built in the first 2 hours and look like something that is polishing. If in the first 2 hours it's still having problems, maybe you can still salvage that. But if after 10 hours there are still problems, like big problems like perspective, anatomy, and stuff like that, why didn't you fix that first? Because you are building on top of a tilted environment, basically. It's like building a house on muddy terrain. So not a good advice. At some point in your studio, whatever. Don't retreat your steps. Inspiration is intangible. You can't do it on purpose. So if you can't control that, it's not your problem. And you still need to be creative anyway. So you need to find some solution to spark inspiration or ideas or stuff like that. So why not? If you just try to reproduce how good a project happened in the past, you will never get the same result. Kinda true. But you can also learn from a success and try to replicate that on another stuff. What about that?
Wow.
Look in unlikely place. What does that mean? Do I need to go to my cave or to my bathroom to have inspiration? Expect the unexpected. I have no idea what it means. Best ideas don't need to be sought out at all. You just have to train yourself not to swerve out of the way when they jump out in front of you. I have no idea what it means. Explore the creative discipline. I don't know. Will sewing will help you being a concept artist or 3D artist? It might be cool as a hobby, no problem. No problem. But to overcome blank page syndrome? Not sure. But we're gonna get back to it because it has some good ideas. Like maybe you are focusing on environment design. Learning 3D might be very good. That's another creative tool that still have something in common, that still adds to the table of what you are trying to do. In that case, this is good. Expand your mind. That's what I will say about that. Go against the flow. Try to... Okay, hear me out. School students, please just tell me what happened if you do exactly what you described right now. Try to approach every brief with the opposite of what everyone else will do. It might not be the direction you choose in the end, but it can help to avoid cliché scenario. What will be the reaction of the teacher if you go against the flow, if you go against the brief? Please tell me. What will happen? If you decide to deliberately go against the brief. Don't be shy, please. Whatever. This happened. Get wrecked. If you are a professional and you get a brief, you need to kind of follow it to the letter. Of course, avoiding cliché scenario, yes. But if you are asked to do a robot and you do a dog, it's not working. Take notes on life. Grab a journal. Grab your reading pen. Dear diary. Today I learned about that, about life. I don't know. What are those advice? It's the #1 result when you type creative block help. This is so bad. Grab some you time. Yeah. But not only when you are having a creative block, you need to have free time. So not bad, but Yeah, whatever. Don't be bound by the brief. On smaller jobs, less information can sometimes be better to avoid false influence. The solution might open the client's eyes to new things, whatever. I'm just speaking out of my own experience, but when a client gives me a brief and it's like, oh, you're free to do whatever you want, I hate that. Because it means that they have no idea of what they want. So you will spend a fucking shit ton of time to figure out what they want for them. On the contrary, if they have a very precise brief, very exhaustive, it means that they know exactly what they want. So you save time and effort doing exactly what the client wants. And you are not wasting time trying to figure out what it wants. When you're working on yourself, yeah, no problem. Try new stuff, try new things, good. And we're gonna talk about that later. But when you're on a client with a client, follow the brief to the letter and actually ask questions about the brief. Almost ask your client to give you a mood board. Like, how do you want the grass to be? How do you want the sky to be? Because that's a pro tip right there. If the client still doesn't know about that, you will have to figure that out for the client. So you will waste time. If you are asking this question, the client will figure that out for you in advance. So both you and the client are saving time. This way, if you are paid per piece, you are earning way more money per hour. Think about that. You just ask the question to the client. How do you want the sky to be? How do you want this to be? Do you have any reference about that part, about this, about this? You ask them about that, like you show that you care. And they are pretty happy to help you in general because it will help them figure out what they want in advance. This way they give that to you and you save so much time on the research. Plus, if you're a bit smart, tell them, oh, that's a good idea. And basically you just train your client to think for you. That's how you save time and money. I clip that. This is worth gold. This is how you raise your price. By just making your client work for you. This is so paradoxical. But this is so true. Broaden your horizons.
Wow.
It reminds me of Harry Potter when they are doing the divination course, like, open your third eyes, broaden your mind, open your mind. Push the boundaries, experiment in your personal project, or if you haven't got the time or energy after a hard day's work, go for a tangent for an hour while working on an actual project. This one is probably the only... Those two ones, broaden your horizon and push the boundaries, even though I made fun of that. These are probably the two only decent advice about this entire article. Oh, thank you, Tesla. Wow. Thank you so much.
Hey there.
Thank you.
Aw, you shouldn't have.
Thank you so much. Hope you're doing well. We're gonna chat after the stream again to get back on what we discussed previously. It was very fun. Huh? So yeah, push the boundary, get a fresh perspective. Those are probably the only two good advice in that article. Sleep on it when you can. Try not to think and do on the same day. What does that mean? We tend to sort the good from the bad naturally and occasionally come up with some really off-the-wall things overnight.
I don't take lessons from you.
Shake up your surroundings. Try a different work environment to keep things fresh. sketch at home or on the train, refine final work in your studio, and brainstorm in coffee shop. This is such a marketing, communication, work stuff. Like, hey, let's increase the productivity of the company. Let's have an after work at the bar. Let's have some brunch. I don't know. Drawing at the bar is fun. Will it inspire you to have the best idea in the world? I don't know. I know that J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter in a bar. But it was because she had no choice. Not because it was inspiring to her. If that's your stick, no problem. It's not really a universal tips. Can work for some people, but not for everyone. So anyways, let's try to cut all the BS right now and get to some actionable advice with that epic music. To me, there's a big problem with art blocks and the way people are talking about that. Is that they are not making a very important distinction. They are not separating art block or creative block as you want, which is basically the blank page. You have no idea, you are not feeling creative, you are not in the mood today. And art and creative fatigue, which are two very different stuff. Art and creative fatigue, in my opinion, is just my own definition. It's basically when you are, well, mentally and or physically tired. So you are just not in a state where you are the most productive and efficient and focused compared to your full potential. Art block, blank page is just when you have no idea or everything you do, you feel it's shit. So the first one is you're just too tired to do that. Second one is that you have no idea. Or no idea is as good as you want. Which are two different problems. Let's address the art and creative fatigue. To me, this is the easiest one to address. It can happen a lot, especially now that in the industry we are talking a lot about crunch, overtime and stuff like that. People talking about crunch and overtime and they are like, oh, I'm feeling like I'm losing my passion and stuff like that. This is creative fatigue and this is normal. You're crunching and when you are in a tunnel vision on something, on anything for too long, you get bored. And the main keyword of that presentation is tunnel vision. I use that a lot. But tunnel vision, I talked about it previously in the stress part, how to handle yourself post-studies, avoid the habits, avoid the tunnel vision, have hobbies, have different activities, to not focus only on art, to not sacrifice everything for that. This is tunnel vision. And again, we are coming back to that. If you are physically tired because you had some crunch, you had some sleepless night at school, hey to everyone at school right now doing the homework and stuff like that. Sleeping 3 hours per night and stuff like that. When you're at school, sometimes you can't afford that, but basically when you're on vacation, just fucking rest. Get some time off. It's very important. Rest properly, sleep properly, eat properly. This is like your daddy basic advice. But when you are tired, just rest. As simple as that. At least when you are physically tired. When you are emotionally tired, that's different. I have few advice on that. Again, it's just my opinion. But at least it's actionable. I'm gonna do my best to explain you why it works. We are doing when we are artists, doing 3D, drawing, sculpting, painting, whatever, artistic and creative stuff. It's a very intellectual activity. Plus, generally, we are sitting for a very extended period of time, so it's kind of bad for circulation, stuff like that for your body. We are not moving that much. It's not very physical. Unless you are maybe carving some stone or pushing some clay and stuff like that, or painting while sitting, maybe, or dancing, or doing some more physical artistic activity like dancing and stuff like that. it's not like going to the gym. It's not very physical. So our body is craving movement and physical activity, but our brain is fried because we are focused so much on thinking about everything. So something very good to have a real break to rest your emotion and your brain is to physically get tired. Not just by the lack of sleep, but like going to the gym, running, having some physical activity. I don't know, tennis, basketball, football, fencing, archery, going to the gym, cardio, having a ride on the on the bike. Just go for a walk for like 1 hour in the street nearby the river or something like that, or in the forest if you have that nearby. Going to hike on the weekend, stuff like that. You exhaust yourself physically and it rests your brain. Because you are focused on getting tired physically, on getting exhausted. So your brain is shut off. It's not thinking anymore about art or avoiding tunnel vision again. Plus, once you come back home, you are tired. You are having a deep and repairing sleep. That's the first thing. I will not talk about if you are depressed or sad or whatever. This is not the subject, and we had already three presentations about stress, one about procrastination. We are like, you need to address your fears, so let's not be dark. But yeah, physically exhausting yourself is very good. And some of those articles are talking about that. Thank you. This is one of the most obvious stuff, but we still tend to forget that. And when I was discussing about the stress when you're a student or stuff like that, or post-studies, generally you tend to forget or to get back to those good habits of exhausting yourself and having some physical activities. This music is dark. Let's change that. Next one, still about the emotional state. Again, about having some proper break. To me, a proper break. Yeah, Bloodborne slide presentation. This is from the Elder Scrolls Online. This is not from Bloodborne. But something else you can have is basically have a proper break. And by having a proper break, I'm not especially talking about going to the beach and getting fried in front of the sun. We are artists. We are generally not doing that much, to be honest. We are all vampires in general. For most of us, at least. But to me, having a proper break is like getting involved fully into something different than what you do usually. Again, this is avoiding tunnel vision. Avoiding getting stuck in doing the same thing over and over and over again. My take on when you are doing the same thing over and over again for days and night and days and night, I've experienced that really strongly recently. I might go a bit personal on this one, but it might be interesting to talk about that. During the month of June till end of August, I've been crunching like mad with 3 different clients. I was supposed to be only able to handle 1, maybe 1.5, but not 3. I was crunching like 16 hours per day, plus doing the streams, plus having my mentorship with my own mentor on Sundays, plus having some other webinars about business at the same time. So I was burning the candle with both ends. I was exhausted. I was doing that for the money. I had the opportunity to make a bit of money to rest a bit later and to invest a bit into different stuff. But that's something I told my dad when I visited him in September, early September, to have 1 week of rest. And still I worked during that, and my dad was angry and was angry too. At least it was a bit better to rest. But we had a discussion one night. I was like, while I'm home, I'm working for those, when I've been home for those 3 last months, I completely lost track of time. of which day we were, which month we were. Every day was like autopilot, like a routine. I was waking up, completely passed out, having my breakfast, walking, doing my stream in the night, then walking again. And sometimes there was a D&D session or my mentorship, but it was pretty much that for 3 months straight. And everything felt like an endless day, as if it was the same day over and over again. You see that movie, The Never-Ending Day, or Deathloop, the game? It was exactly like that. Like waking up, same routine, same stuff. My cat doing exactly the same stuff. Me doing the same stuff, eating the same thing. And at some point I was like, am I still alive? And even though I was kind of fine, I completely forget to go to the gym. So I kind of melted a bit. And in terms of health, it was not very good. I won't go into details, but in terms of health, it was not good at all. That shitty routine kind of hurt my hormonal system. I had to do some blood tests, take some supplements and stuff like that to get it back. I have to go very hard on the gym to get certain hormone level back to normal. It was entirely because of that. And everything was feeling bland. Like the food was bland. Walking was bland. There was no emotion at all. It was flat. It was no good, no bad. It was flat. There was nothing. And this is fucking tunnel vision for too long. At some point, it becomes a routine. In a routine, it's exactly the same when you are in a relationship where there is a routine, it's boring. It's not good, it's not bad, it's not uncomfortable, it's not comfortable either. It's just normal. And boring. And bland. There's no spikes of emotions. Whether good or bad, by the way. There's no spike anymore, there's no spice. There's no friction. And you see the days drift. You start drifting in the days and you're like, what the fuck am I doing? And yeah, having a proper break, which is you are stopping what you do and you are getting involved fully into something else for a given amount of time. That has nothing to do in common. For example, the week I was with my dad, he's living in the mountains, so we were just hiking for the entire day. And running in the forest and stuff like that. Even if it rained or stuff like that, we are doing a bit of woodwork for my cat, the cat tree and stuff like that. We've been doing a bit of different activities that are physical and that have nothing to do with creative stuff. My dad was like, you are forbidden to bring your tablet and your stylus. So yeah, he was right. He was right. Yeah, I've made a cat tree. I can show you actually. I'm glad I've kind of cleaned my room, otherwise it would be a complete mess. Yeah. Look at that. This is the cat tree. It's so big and the cat loves it. And there's a plate. It's basically made of wood that we got in the forest. And we kind of carved it to make some to make the pieces to basically stick to each other. We put some screws, and then we got some wooden plates that you generally you put your hot pans or stuff like that on those. This is just wooden plates, and we use that as platforms for the kitty. And we use some climbing ropes, some old ones that my dad has because he's a guide in the mountains, so he has plenty of old ropes that he cannot use anymore. But we basically got them around the tree trunk, and we hot glued them. And then we put some varnish and some paint on the root, and the cat loves that. He has a platform just on top of the window, and it's pretty cool. I gotta send you some photo if you want. What is great? I kind of want to take a vacation on my own, just going in the countryside for a day, but it's hard to do so by yourself without a car or anything. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of hard when you don't have a car. What I was doing with my friends before, after this discussion, I definitely want to organize that before the new year. That sounds amazing. Yeah, something you can do is just you get an Airbnb with a bunch of buddies, and you get the train ticket a long time ago or the bus ticket a long time ago. And this is kind of good because you set up that in advance, so it's established. You can't really argue against that, and now basically you need to basically arrange your schedule around that. It's kind of a good plan. It is what we did with my dad, because my dad is kind of unavailable because he's working a lot. Same with me. So maybe 2 months in advance, we're like, okay, first week of September, we are seeing each other. And we just had to manage our schedule separately to make it work, basically. It's kind of cool. But yeah, having a proper break and getting involved into something completely different. If just being on the beach, taking the sun and reading a book is your thing, perfectly fine. There's no good or bad answer. But just do something that has nothing to do. You don't even bring your tablet, your notebook, your sketchbook. Nothing. This way, there's no temptation to walk. Because sometimes your brain is kind of tricking you and forcing you to still walk because you feel this kind of guilt of not walking. This is how your brain can trick you. But yeah, it's very important to not stay in that tunnel vision mode about art for too long because it's very intellectual. It's a rabbit hole because it has no end. Being good at art means nothing. You can always be better, so there's no end goal. So this is a way to protect yourself against that chasing the dragon thing. You're chasing something that doesn't even exist, like an ideal. Chasing perfection and stuff like that. And this is a way to kind of protect yourself against that. This is very important because there's something that is related to that. Again, I've not been reading that much about that. That's something that I kind of figured out on my own. Like, chasing chimeras is good, but in The Witcher or in D&D, but not in real life. But something I kind of like to do to describe the art process is doing a graph. Bear with me, okay? Give me a sec. I'm just there we go. Okay. So bear with me. Okay. So to me, this is the way I see improvement and learning. Tell me if you are disagreeing with that. So this is basically your level. I'm writing with my mouse today, sorry. And this is time. And to me, when you are learning, there are two things. They are basically your hand or execution. And then, to me, this is your knowledge. Can be your fundamentals or whatever. to me, the knowledge, something like that. You learn something, then you learn something, and so on. I'm gonna just pick the first one and duplicate that to be very clean. There we go. Let's copy and paste it. There we go. So to me, this is like your learning curve. Every time you learn a new thing, you level up. Technically, it's not a straight line. It can be slightly bent, but bear with me. I'm just going to make it this way, but it's just relative. It's just to illustrate my point. Let's say this is when you read framed ink. And this is color and light. Then this is Scott Robertson. Then this is whatever, this is false. Then when you're a blender. And so on. Basically, every time you learn something, you level up. It's acquired and it's not going back. And this is your knowledge, but your execution, to me, that's something linear. That's something like this. It goes with practice and it's almost linear. It can go slightly with bumps, but whatever. And this is very interesting because there are two different stages. Basically, there is that moment when basically your execution is below your knowledge. Right there. And so on. So basically your eye is better than your hand. So everything you do at that moment, you see the mistakes, but you are physically unable to correct them yet. You understand that something is wrong, but you don't really know how to fix it yet. This is kind of the frustration part. And then there's the opposite of that, when your hand is slightly above your knowledge. And this is the confidence part. And the almost overconfidence part. Generally, it happens not as often as the frustration part, but it can still happen sometimes. Like you realize that you have improved, basically. It's like, oh, I know to do that. That's so cool. That's so easy now. Oh, that's cool. It's like, oh, I finally learned something. And then there is the sweet spot. It's basically when something clicks. You don't realize it yet, but it was frustrating. And now you know how to do that. Make sense? So to me, this is the learning process. And sometimes, but the knowledge part, you know what? Even when you are not working, it keeps improving. Because that's something sometimes you need to digest. We have seen that the last year when we did the composition class, in the school I was teaching at. Most of people kind of struggle during the week. A few months after it clicked, it was like, okay, now I understand. Because sometimes you need a bit of time to digest some bits of knowledge. Then you need a bit of time to execute that with the hand. Make sense? So this is for the emotional state. And when you are doing tunnel vision, you are basically not taking the time to digest what you're doing. When you are forcing stuff like, oh no, I must not quit, I must continue doing stuff over and over and over and over again. Sometimes it's like overdose and it's like you're basically stuck in the frustration zone. You're stuck in the frustration zone. Trying to force out of it, but sometimes just taking a break, taking a bit of time to digest something, to process the information in the subconscious part of your brain. If it was a bit of a subroutine, then you get back to it. Oh, makes sense now. But again, when you are frustrated and stuff like that, generally when you are getting emotional into stuff, that's why you are making mistakes. If you are getting frustrated, that's an emotion. So it kind of screws the learning process. So sometimes when you feel that frustration, not right from the start, you still need to force out of it. At some point, you're like, okay, let's take a break. Let's not getting burnt. When you're just about to get burnt, step away, take a break, do something else. Generally, once you get back to it, maybe one week after, it clicks. Sounds familiar to you or not? Is that some weird stuff that I'm talking about right now? There was another stuff about art and creative fatigue. It can be linked to the environment, like bad surroundings. So you have a messy desk or you're not working in the good conditions. Just fix it, please. It's like clean your room, brush your teeth. Don't walk in the kitchen. I don't know. Let's not spend that much time on it. So this is about art and creative fatigue. It's not about the blank page syndrome. But you will see it kind of overlaps on it. So art block or blank page syndrome. To me, it's when we are again doing tunnel vision on something and we get accustomed to do some subject, some process, some universe or whatever over and over and over again. And we are basically getting complacent and stuck into it. We are basically getting stuck drawing the same kind of characters, same kind of faces, same kind of pose all the time, with the same techniques, the same tools over and over again. And we start to lose the passion for it. Again, it's becoming a routine. It's established. That's something we said previously. If you already know it, if it's easy, it means that you are not learning anymore. So basically, best case scenario, you are stagnating. Worst case scenario, you are developing bad habits. You are slightly going down. And basically on the graph, imagine your hand is slightly, instead of going up, it's starting to get flat. So you are increasing the gap in the frustration part, or reducing the confidence part. Basically, okay, you're above, now it's flat, so it's closing the gap of the confidence part sooner. Let's move back to it. Basically, instead of doing this, it will be this. We are basically further increasing the frustration part. Or else it does this, so you are reducing the confidence part. Makes sense? See how we overlap on the previous subject? We go further and further. Basically, with that, by doing the same things over and over again, not stepping outside of your comfort zone, you get trapped into it. And you only know how to do that. And once the magic on your brain doesn't work anymore, once you are not surprised and enthusiastic about that, or once it's become basically normal, there's no spark of positive emotion, it gets boring, and you are like, shit, it's routine. I can't nourish myself out of that anymore. So, how to fix that? The TLDR is get out of your comfort zone. But how do you do that? Same as yesterday, the first thing you can do, it's a bit brute forcing the stuff, but you can just force yourself to get cornered. To get cornered, you have no choice but to do something. Subject, something like that. And that's why schools are very good at that, because they are basically imposing you the subject and the briefs. So you have no choice but to do that, even if you don't like that. If I'm asking you to do some compositions about dragons, ancient Egypt, firefighters, and doctors, even though you don't care at all about dragons, you're like, why? Firefighters? Really? I want to draw mechanical suit and stuff like that. I don't want to draw firefighters. Except with doctors? Why? Yeah, but you have no choice. Because I'm the teacher. I'm your boss. I'm your client. I'm paying for that. I have the authority on you. So you have to stick to it, and you are cornered on the subject. So it's forcing you to step outside of your comfort zone, basically. Something else that you can do to force yourself out of the comfort zone is to get some prompt. There are some websites like the Pool de Cristal or some speed pen subject generator, some pitch generator subject. There are some fantasy description generator. Let me show you something very good. This website is absolutely amazing. Fantasy name generator. Generally, it's used for D&D to generate some names and stuff like that. But something you have is some description generator. Let's pick, for example, GM descriptions, plant description, and school uniform description, for example, and tavern description, gender description. This melanite with a triangle cut and the size of a peanut is in a fairly decent condition. These gems are not very sought after, but they are very common gemstone species. It said these gems contain enhancing properties which make for great offensive weapons. This is a nice prompt that you would have never figured out by yourself. Land description. The Edge, I'm gonna skip the name, is a very rare, medium-sized plant and can be found in caves and other dark places. It blooms in late winter. It has large, edge-shaped leaves, which are usually pine green. It also grows decent-sized flowers, which can be dark bronze, dark yellow, and purple. These plants grow in huge numbers, but it's no trouble to control and maintain their growth. They have no use, but look nice in gardens. As a defense mechanism, these flowers grow tiny thorns. They rely on wind pollination to reproduce. Once pollinated, they grow small, inedible fruits. This is such a good description for a plant. It can spark your ideas and stuff like that. You can cross-reference and stuff like that. Same with school uniforms. Let's get the tavern. I love that one. From the outside, it looks warm, beautiful, and pleasant. Plastered walls and stone beams make up most of the building's outer structure. It's hard to see through the stained glass windows. So you have warm, beautiful, pleasant, plastered walls, stone beams, stained glass windows. but the excited voice from within can be felt outside. As you enter the tavern through the heavy wooden door, that's another element. You're welcomed by aromas of roasted meats and the smile of a waitress. That's another element of description. The bartender is engaged in a conversation, but still manages to welcome you with a short wave. So the bartender has other people in front of her, stuff like that. It's as charming inside as it is outside. Stone beams support the upper floor, so that's another description. And the light attached to them. The walls are littered with all sorts of memorabilia. What is that? So whether they're collected or donated is uncertain. Oh, okay. Cabinet of Curiosities. Nice. The tavern itself is packed. Soldiers seems to be the primary clientele here. So you have soldiers inside, which often leads to exciting evenings. Several long tables are occupied by several smaller group of people. The other smaller tables are also occupied by people who are indulging in great foods and drink, while some do try to strike a conversation. Others can barely speak a word between eating what must be delicious food. Even most of the stools at the bars are occupied, though nobody seems to mind more company. You did hear some rumors about this tavern. Supposedly it's famous for something, but you can't remember what for. So judging by the laughter, cheering and overall enjoyment of everybody, is probably the people themselves who make the tavern famous. That's right, sweetie. Nice to see you. But yeah, you see there's some description that gets completely out of your comfort zone. It can also be used for sci-fi and stuff like that. There are a lot of other description. Like society, shipwreck, martial art, magic souls, law, humanoid house, dungeons, dragon, disease, demon, army, backstory, battlefield, castle. This website is so good to get some ideas. And you see there's so much and so many different elements that you can pick to spark your ideas. And this is a way to force yourself out of your comfort zone. You're like, okay, I must stick to it. I need to design that fucking tavern. At some point, I'm gonna do one of them for sure. There's no treasure description, really. Oh, okay. Anyways. That's a way to force yourself out of your comfort zone. And to spark your ideas again. Something that I really like when I'm having an art block like that is just to start doing some tutorials about things that I don't know at all. I don't know. I'm doing environment design mainly. If I'm stuck, I will do like some tutorials about VFX. Like Houdini or Nuke or Cinema 4D, something like that with particles. I'm stuck into character design. I'm designing on paper. I don't know. I will do a hard surface sculpting course in ZBrush. Start doing some tutorials and sticking through that. You're just replicating what the mentor is doing. You're doing something very close, so it's out of your comfort zone again. At least you are learning something, and now you are expanding both your knowledge and your hand with something new. That's probably how your hand can grow a bit more towards the top. Getting a mentorship might be very good too. Because again, you get both the new pieces of knowledge plus a new technical approach. Plus someone that corners you and guides you in order to make it work. So this mentor will challenge you and force yourself out of your boundaries. So basically, it will force you to start experimenting with new techniques that you don't know yet. Basically, it's all about expanding the boundaries of your comfort zone. Don't want to get trapped into it. And it's also about avoiding creating some kind of autopilot state when you're producing something. And keeping that enthusiasm that you have when you were started. And that's often a problem that some people might have in the industry. When they are doing something for so long, they are doing always the same thing over and over again. Let's say there was the interview of a guy who was making only swords for The Witcher 3. And this guy was getting crazy. Like I'm dreaming of sword, I'm living sword, I'm shitting swords. And I hate swords now. But some people in the industry, they are doing very technical stuff. Still artistic, not just only technical. When you are doing fully technical stuff, that's your job basically. When you're coding or rigging, that's your job. But some people, they are doing still creative yet very focused work, like only doing props, only doing realistic spaceship. Unless that's something you really, really absolutely love. You kind of get bored of that. If you are doing like for like 10 years, sometimes what you like might become kind of a prison, because now it's so easy. There's no challenge anymore. There's no spike of emotion anymore. And sometimes those people, they get stuck. They don't realize why they start to hate their job. The truth is, dude, just do something else. Don't stick to the same thing over and over again. It's like eating the same food over and over again for months. At some point, you might eat your favorite food every day. And I'm pretty sure that if you eat that at every meal, every day for a week, at the end of the week, you start hating that. Absolutely hating that. So it's all about finding a way to basically acknowledging that you are sticking to your comfort zone, to your small universe, and then breaking from that for a moment. This way you are taking a break from your comfort zone, and once you are back, exactly as for a vacation, because you got involved into something else, you're refreshed, you have some new ideas that were in your mind that you are eager to do, and once you get back, you are again enthusiastic in doing that. That's what I will do with my owls. Let's say I have one drawing to do with my owls, and I need to finish the characters, which will take not that much time. By the end of the week, it should be done, probably. And then I'm going to do something else. I'm going to get back on some post-apocalyptic stuff or some more realistic stuff. I'm going to step a bit away from them, do other stuff. And once I have new inspiration, new idea, and I'm really like, hey, I want to redo some owls, I'm going to get back to it. But for me, it would be a nightmare to work full-time on them. Or at least to draw full-time on them. I could supervise people doing that, but drawing full-time on them, it would be a nightmare for me at some point. I don't want to hate them. You know, there's a quote. I just want to translate that properly in English. But you don't need to have too much of a good thing. You don't need to. Yeah, you don't need to have too much of a good thing, basically. You need to ration that a bit. Otherwise, you get spoiled and it gets boring. Because what you have becomes boring. If you have, I don't know, a lot of money, it's not a problem anymore. It gets boring. But if you are lacking something, that's what you value a lot. So, what you really like, if you are doing too much of that, at some point you might not like it anymore. You might even overdose on it. I'm not talking about drugs, by the way. But let's say if you overdose on your favorite food, you get kind of disgusted by that. You're like, no, I'm never eating that. But before you love that, it's just because you abuse that thing. Same with the comfort zone. If you have a very deep comfort zone that you really love, don't do that all the time. Otherwise, you will get stuck to it and you will start getting imprisoned in it. No. Why? I created a monster. Yeah, that's my tip. The TLDR on the blank page syndrome is stop doing tunnel vision. Focus hardcore on something else for a moment. And once you get back to that thing, it's going to be better. It can be doing some tutorials about things you don't know, getting some prompts that are not what you are used to do, get a mentorship that will force you to stick to a subject and to a technique that you are not used to, start experimenting with new techniques you don't know, if possible by following a tutorial. It's all about getting out of your comfort zone to challenge the boundaries of it and expand it. This is how you grow as an artist, by expanding your comfort zone. At some point, you know to do everything and everything is easy. And that's a rich guy problem, but you will get bored by doing everything. So you will have to change yourself even more to do other stuff. And that's how you get guys like Jama, for example. This guy is a wizard. He's experimenting so much, like trying to combo some software, always willing to try something because he knows how to do everything. You still have to discover new stuff, new software. One day, Jama will start using Houdini and make crazy stuff. That's what he did with VR. That's what he did with 3D code, with Blender, with Photoshop, with the 3D option, the 360 paintings in Photoshop. It was mind-blowing.
Wow.
That's how you get guys like that. Oh, Machi Kuchara, that's the same. Jama is such a good example. He's doing so much stuff. He's trying to experiment. Now he wants to create 3D assets and to code some new tools. Now he's experimenting with Unreal 5. He's gonna do incredible stuff as always. Because this guy just understood how to challenge his comfort all the time. And something that is kind of good too is to get someone or something to get accountable to. And Jama, the way he did that was with his Patreon. Because every month he had to show a new technique. That's something he was learning the previous month. All the time. So every month he had to learn something new to teach it a month after or a few months after. So again, getting someone to be accountable to, even though if it's your patrons basically on Patreon, you are cornered. So you have no choice but to do that. Same thing, I say that I will do between 40 and 50 videos by the end of the year. I'm cornered now. I have no choice. I need to stick to that. That's a very good way to force yourself. Same with my artist at Ubisoft. I got cornered. I had no choice. And at the beginning, I had no idea. I was sitting with my roommate like, dude. Public place, abandoned, The Division. I have no idea. I was like, okay, let's try to figure out every point. Okay. Public place, we can do a police station. There's some guns, there's some furniture and stuff like that. And we figured that out. But I had no choice. Get fucking cornered. That's the TLDR of tonight. All right. My God, we have 8 people watching. That's a new high. Welcome. I'm going to join the Discord, by the way, if you have some questions about today's presentation. I'm not here to discuss drugs, Dacia, please. But, yeah, if you have some questions, feel free to join. I'm going to stay for like 2 minutes. Usual speech. I need to record that at some point. But yeah. For the newcomers, both watching on Twitch right now or watching the replay on YouTube in 2 days, feel free to follow and or subscribe as you want. Feel free to join us on Discord down below to talk with the very, very good community that we are building. Very motivated people that will become the new generation. What did you say? My streamer asked me to get cornered, so I went in the streets in the middle of the night with nothing but a full white and my iPhone. No! 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 Please! Don't do that! Get artistically cornered. Anyways, feel free to join the community. Feel free to subscribe and or follow. If you want to watch the videos live, feel free to join us on Twitch. This way we can interact together with the chat. You can join me on Discord if you want to ask some questions to further discuss to this presentation, share some testimonies, or if you disagree and you want us to figure out a different approach together, I would love to hear about that. Yeah. And if you want to support the channel, because there are the subs. If you want to grab a free consultation, with me, you can grab it for free on Thursdays. I'm doing some free consultations on Thursdays in general. It's coming pretty soon. Or else if you want a private consultation, you can check that below on Twitch, on Discord. There are the informations about that. Yeah, if you found it useful, the best way to help me would also be to share the word to people that you know that might benefit from the content of that channel and stream. Trying to teach you everything that the school won't have the time to teach you. School is there to teach you the technique. I'm here to make you a fucking shark, teach you the mindset, get you to be good in your mind, good in your career, not get wrecked, get more money when you are working, and become a thriving artist. It's like a free Jama mentorship, except I'm not a wizard yet. Jama is teaching you the technique. I'm teaching you the business and the mental side. And it's not woo-woo magic, like stuck some quartz in your ass and stuff like that. It's like every time we are picking a serious subject, every time this is the same diagnosis, advice on the internet are fucking shit. Because it's like, try to be positive, dude. Just be yourself. Your life is shit. Everything is bad. Just keep being yourself. It's not your fault, dude. No. Let's try to give some actionable advice. Some stuff you can try with a plan. Instead of just be positive. It's like a no bullshit guide to being an artist. Anyways, I know it's a bit abrasive, but we are pretty kind still. It's not to be mean to anyone. It's just, yeah, it's a bit abrasive, but it's fun. At least in my opinion. Step 1, gain corn. Step 2, put quartz up your ass. Exactly.
Wow.
Step 3. Step 4.
You deserve a kick in the nuts.
Step 5. And step 6. This one is for me. Anyways. I gotta stop the stream right now. Jonas Jack did. Yeah. Thanks a lot for coming. We had 8 people. Feel free to join. Feel free to follow us on Twitch. To join the Discord. Plus we are talking D&D and we are sometimes drawing. I won't be drawing live tonight because we need to talk with Tassia. We need to talk business. But tomorrow, back for a new presentation. We're gonna talk tomorrow about the sunk cost fallacy. It's going to be pretty interesting. A sunk cost fallacy and probably self-sabotage. It would be nice. Anyways, have a nice evening, have a nice day, have a nice afternoon as you want. Good night to people watching live right now. See you soon on Discord. See you tomorrow on Twitch. Take care.